In the NFL, building a legacy, man, it's a brutal, lifelong fight. But what happens when the fight is finally over? Well, that's when the judgment begins. And as we're about to find out, the final verdict can be the most unforgiving part of the entire game.
I mean, really think about that for a second. An organization so utterly dominant that going to the Super Bowl is basically a regular event, happening once every 3 years. You'd assume that kind of legacy is bulletproof, right? That immortality in Canton, Ohio is just a formality. Well, you'd be wrong. That's the kind of reaction we heard when the architects of the Patriots dynasty, Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, got snubbed by the Hall of Fame. A decision so confusing, so shocking, it was called a moment where the entire institution just lost all credibility. Now let's flip the script. Imagine you're on the other end of that spectrum. You're a young quarterback just trying to prove you even belong. And before you've had a real shot, the experts have already written the final chapter of your story for you. Today, we're looking at two sides of the same unforgiving coin, the fight to be remembered and the fight to even get started. Okay, let's dive right into this whole Patriots controversy. Because, this isn't just about one team. This is about how the league decides to write its own history and who gets to be a part of it.
Let's just put this number into perspective, okay? 11. Under Robert Kraft's ownership, the New England Patriots went to the Super Bowl 11 times. That's once every 3 seasons, on average. In today's NFL, with free agency and salary caps, that kind of success, it's supposed to be impossible.
And the argument for them getting in seems like a slam dunk. Kraft hired 3 different head coaches who all took teams to a Super Bowl. Belichick is, for a lot of people, the greatest to ever do it. And they built this dynasty in an era that was literally designed to prevent dynasties. Meanwhile, you've got other owners with way less success who are already wearing their gold jackets.
And this is really the core of it right here. How can you possibly tell the story of the modern NFL and not have these two men at the very center of it all? The fact that they aren't first ballot inductees has left so many people just asking one simple question: why?
And that question, well, it leads to 2 very different and honestly very compelling theories. Is this whole thing personal, or is it just procedural? Is this really about the Patriots, or is it about a system that's fundamentally broken?
So on one side, you have the bias theory. Maybe the voters are holding a grudge. Could be they're just tired of 2 decades of dominance. Or maybe it's the stain from controversies like Spygate or Deflategate. But on the other hand, some people are arguing this has nothing to do with the Patriots at all. And this gets us to the counter-narrative. This theory says the problem isn't the candidates, it's the process. A process that's been called ridiculously bad. The argument is that the whole system for voting in non-players is so flawed that it was bound to spit out a crazy result like this eventually. And Kraft and Belichick, they're just the unlucky victims of a broken procedure. All right, now we're gonna shift gears to a totally different kind of judgment. We're going from a legacy that's already built to one that's just fighting to get off the ground. We're talking about the cold, hard world of pro scouting and the case of quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Oof, that is about as blunt an assessment as you will ever hear. No wiggle room, no sugarcoating it. According to former NFL quarterback Tim Hasselbeck, that is the consensus view of Shedeur Sanders around the league. A verdict delivered before his career has even had a chance to really begin. And this is exactly what we mean by the pro evaluation. This isn't about what fans think or what the media is hyping up. No. This is about what the 32 teams in the league actually believe a player is and what they can become. And in that world, the truth is often pretty brutal. So let's just break down that evaluation. The general agreement is that Sanders, a 5th-round pick, he just doesn't have the tape, the body of work to be handed a starting job. Sure, he had some nice highlights, but the experts point to physical limitations and believe his ceiling is probably a career backup. So the crucial point is this. The league thinks he has a place in the NFL. Absolutely. He could have a long, successful career. But, and this is the big but, not as the guy, not as the franchise quarterback a team builds its entire future around. So what we have here are 2 completely different stories of judgment. One, a dynasty so great that its final validation is somehow up for debate. And the other, a prospect whose potential is being capped before he even gets a real chance. What does this tell us about what it takes to make it in the NFL? And this table just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you have a legendary status, built on a mountain of wins, where the debate is literally about immortality. On the other, an unproven player whose entire future is the subject of that debate. But when you really look at it, the path is strangely the same for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're Bill Belichick or Shedeur Sanders. You dedicate your entire life to this game. You achieve something, big or small. And then you have to stand there and face the harsh judgment of others who ultimately decide how your story gets told. Which leaves us with one final thought. In a league that's defined by wins and losses, maybe the ultimate measure of a career isn't found in the record books. Maybe it's found in the opinions of the people who get to write the final chapter. And that's a pretty sobering thought for anyone who steps on that field.